My daughter chose her rich stepfather over me after I raised her alone, now that he cut her off. She wants back in, but I shut the door. Ex-wife, then for 1F, and I, then for 5M. Separated 12 years ago. She ended up finding comfort in the arms of a wealthy man. Sorry, but there's really no softer way to say it. She had always been a stay-at-home wife and mom. She never showed interest in having a job or earning her own income. Her dream was to care for the house and raise our daughter, Lara, once she was born. Even though money was tight, I never pressured her to get a job. I worked 2 jobs and earned just enough to provide a decent meal on the table, but my income couldn't support the lavish lifestyle she craved. I won't get into the full story of my relationship with my ex. That's a story for another day. This post is about Lara. I might share more about my ex-wife later. When Lara was 10, my ex admitted she'd been sleeping with a wealthy man. She moved out the same day, and we filed for divorce soon after. We became co-parents to Lara, since I was juggling 2 jobs and she didn't work at all. We decided that Lara would stay with her during the week and come to me on weekends. Lara and I had a strong bond. We went on fun adventures together, and although the divorce hurt, spending time with her was healing. But over time, I noticed something was off. At first, I'd get excited every Friday, waiting for her emails where she'd excitedly list all the weekend activities she wanted us to do. Slowly, those messages turned into, "Sorry, I can't come this weekend, we're going skiing," or some other luxury outing with her stepdad. At first, I brushed it off. I figured her stepdad was just trying to keep her happy, and I didn't want to be jealous or bitter. But eventually, it became clear that Lara was avoiding me. Our weekly visits turned into twice a month, then once a month, and then just for a single day on some weekends. When she did visit, she didn't seem to enjoy it like she used to. It was obvious she was pulling away. I finally confronted her. I tried to explain that I was doing everything I could to make her happy, even stretching myself thin, but it didn't help. She kept skipping weekends and started lying about it, instead of telling me she was going on fancy trips with her stepdad. She began making up excuses about schoolwork and projects. Sometimes it sounded believable, but most of the time, I could tell it was fabricated. During the little time we had together, she'd constantly rave about how amazing her stepdad was, how he never checked the prices before ordering anything. Even when I took her out, she would compare everything to how much better it was with him. She'd complain about minor things that never used to bother her before. But she never stopped bragging about her new PlayStation, the bike her mom bought, the clothes, the expensive outings. I told myself maybe she was just too young to realize that love isn't about gifts and money, but it got worse. She stopped responding altogether, no calls, no texts, for over 3 months. I was devastated. I contacted my lawyer and told him everything. He said I could file a case against my ex for alienating Lara from me. But Lara was 12 by then. He warned me she might tell the court she didn't want to see me anymore. Worse, she could claim she needed more money to maintain her new lifestyle, and that could result in increased child support. Yes, I was already paying child support, despite her stepdad treating her to all sorts of luxuries. I decided not to pursue legal action for custody. It just wasn't worth it. My lawyer proposed an alternative, a formal, out-of-court discussion with them. He said it might help clarify what they really wanted. I agreed. He sent them a notice listing all my concerns and allegations. In it, we requested an out-of-court settlement. I had a gut feeling that my ex wouldn't go for it. She had the time and money to drag things through the court system. To my surprise, she agreed to the meeting. Her husband joined her at the attorney's office, along with Lara. Both of them said they were ready to address the issue and bring it to a close. They claimed they had nothing to do with Lara cutting me off. They said they didn't influence her and chose to step back, letting Lara speak for herself. That's when she dropped the most devastating bombshell anyone could imagine. Lara said she wanted me to give up my parental rights. It's been 10 years since that day, but I remember every detail as if it happened yesterday. I went completely silent, so much so that my lawyer had to nudge me for a reaction. I just sat there, staring at them. I didn't know what to say. I looked over at my ex-wife. She smirked like she knew this was coming all along. I reached out and held Lara's hand. "Sweetheart," I said, "do you understand what you're saying? If I give up my rights, you can't call me dad anymore. You won't be my daughter." She pulled her hand away, stared into my eyes, and said, "Yeah, that's what I want." I was stunned. I couldn't find the words to explain how serious this was. My lawyer tried to walk her through the consequences, legal issues, property rights, everything. But she didn't budge. Instead, she turned to her stepdad and asked, "Once he disowns me, you'll be able to adopt me, right?" He smiled and nodded. "Of course, darling." No words could capture the pain I felt in that moment. My world completely collapsed. After being betrayed by my wife of 15 years, the only light left in my life was Lara. She was my reason to keep going after working two exhausting jobs. I hadn't dated anyone in the 2 years since the divorce. I had neither the time nor the desire. I just wanted to pour all my love into Lara. And this is what I got in return. She wanted to erase me. I was in such a miserable state. I couldn't even think straight. My lawyer asked for more time before giving them an answer. I'm sure my ex and her husband slept like babies that night, knowing how broken I was. My lawyer drove me home. After he left, I cried like a child for hours, alone in my house. Every kind of emotion, anger, sorrow, betrayal poured out of me. I called my parents and told them what Lara had asked. They were horrified and rushed over to comfort me. My mother, especially, was heartbroken. She and Lara had always been close. Years ago, when my ex had to undergo surgery and was bedridden for a year, my mom had taken care of both of them, Lara and my ex-wife. Still, she tried talking to Lara, but nothing worked. Lara was fixated on me giving up my rights. She wanted to be her stepdad's daughter so badly. Apparently, he had told her that he couldn't legally adopt her unless I surrendered my parental rights. I asked my lawyer what my options were. He said we could try suing for manipulation, but since Lara was 12, proving it would be difficult. Plus, they had enough money to drag the case out endlessly. And honestly, what was the point? The person I would be fighting for had already made her choice. The battle was already lost. I had no choice but to swallow the bitter pill. I gave up my parental rights. For the next week, I barely left my bed. I quit my second job. Who was I earning for now, anyway? I lost all reason to wake up in the morning. I took so many days off from my full-time job and messed up so much that I got fired. I moved to another town, slept at subway stations, and wandered around like a broken man. Eventually, I started to climb out of that dark hole. I found a new job, joined a gym, and started therapy. It took 2 full years to pull myself together. I didn't jump back into dating. But I did go on a lot of solo trekking trips to heal. On one of those trips, I met my now wife, Brianna. She had a daughter named Emma, who was 5 at the time. After dating for a while, we moved in together. The first time Brianna introduced me to Emma, I broke down. She reminded me so much of Lara. I wanted Emma to call me dad so badly, but I stopped myself. I couldn't risk getting hurt again. Instead, I kept a warm but slightly distant relationship with her. Then, everything came full circle. On her 12th birthday, Emma looked me in the eyes and asked if I would adopt her. I was overwhelmed today. I'm the father of 2 wonderful daughters, Ma, and my 3-year-old Amy with my second wife. Looking back, I truly believe I've been given a second chance at happiness. By now, you know enough about my past to understand how much that means to me. Fast forward to just a week ago, after all these years. I was walking home from work when I saw a familiar face smiling at me. As I got closer, my heart dropped. It was Lara. I felt chills run down my spine. It was like seeing a ghost. She was taller, slimmer, and undeniably beautiful, but I still recognized her in an instant. She ran up to me and hugged me, saying, "Dad, I'm your daughter, Lara. I finally found you." I looked at her with cold, empty eyes and said, "I have 2 daughters, and you're not one of them." Before she could respond, I turned around and walked away. She followed me, but I glanced back and said, "Stop following me, or I'll call the cops." I didn't see her after that until the next day. She showed up at my house. As soon as I opened the door, she burst into tears. I'm sorry. I know you're angry, but please hear me out," she said. "Mom's dead, and Dad, I mean. My stepdad brought his mistress home. He doesn't love me the way he used to when Mom was alive. He's cut me off financially and says I need to earn my own money now." When I kept pushing him, he threatened to disown me. I listened to her whole rant and replied with a blank expression. So what? She started begging me for another chance. I shouted at her to leave and slammed the door in her face. Later, she went to my mother and apologized. She cried and somehow convinced my mom to take her side. Now, my mother wants me to reconcile with Lara for the family's sake. But the pain Lara caused me, I just can't let it go. Can't force myself to reconcile with her. Am I the a-hole? Some of you asked if my ex-wife was a gold digger trying to understand whether she manipulated Lara or if I'm hiding something. So here's a quick background. My ex-wife and I dated for 2 years before getting married. She was a waitress at a local bar I frequented. That's how we met. At the time, she was living with a coworker and I was working 1 full-time job while living in a studio apartment. Eventually, I picked up a second job, saved enough, and bought a small house to accommodate her. We got married and she quit her job. For the first 6 to 7 years, she seemed content with my income. But then things started to change. She began complaining that her friends had wealthier husbands. She'd even say straight to my face that she should have waited a little longer to find a richer man instead of settling for me. It was hurtful and, yes, we argued about it. I couldn't just stand there and take her verbal abuse. Over time, our relationship grew cold and distant. Then, one day, she dropped the bomb. She had been sleeping with a wealthy man and was leaving to move in with him. I didn't beg her to stay, but I did warn her these rich men often treat women like disposable playthings. She brushed it off, saying she'd been seeing the guy for 2 years and trusted him enough now to move in. I had nothing left to say. I just stayed quiet and accepted it. Some people pointed out that Lara was only 12 when she asked me to disown her hand, that I should have fought for her. They said that since I made the choice not to, I shouldn't be so harsh on her now. I understand your point. I'm not denying that Lara was a minor. I also agree she was likely emotionally and financially manipulated. But here's my issue. She turned 18. She became an adult. And she could have reached out to me at any point, but she didn't. She's now 22 and only came looking for me after her stepdad cut her off financially. Someone also asked how my ex-wife passed away. I didn't ask Lara directly, but she told my mother that her mom died of a terminal illness. I do remember Lara having a liver condition when she was a baby. She even had surgery. Maybe that was related. Anyway, the point is, this Lara has been using her tears and dramatic stories to manipulate my mom, trying to guilt her into helping us reconcile. Instead of just calling, decided to visit Mom in person and learned that Lara had been feeding her all sorts of sob stories claiming she was homeless, out of work, and completely alone. When Mom said she had no more to give, Lara broke down, in tears again, begging for help and insisting she had nowhere else to turn. But this time, Mom stood firm and told her, "You can't keep coming here expecting handouts. You need to help yourself now." By this time, Mom had realized what I'd been trying to say all along. It was always about the money. From the moment Lara reappeared in our lives, every move, every tear, every apology was just a means to get something out of us. Let's rewind for a second. A few weeks ago, when I agreed to meet Lara for my mom's sake, Mom called her, and she came over within the hour. I let her speak, but I grilled her hard. The truth started to unravel. Turns out, her mom and stepdad had spoiled her to such an extreme that she never even completed high school. She was so caught up in vacations, dining out and shopping that school completely fell off the radar. I still don't understand what her stepdad was thinking by encouraging this kind of lifestyle. But more than that, I don't know what my ex-wife was doing. How could a mother deliberately let her daughter fall so far off track? Now, obviously, I can't verify all of this. My ex-wife is no longer around to confirm or deny any of it. But according to Lara, everything she did to meet the ghosting, the demand to give up my parental rights, was all her mother's idea. Her mom had orchestrated it to humiliate me in front of her rich new husband. I asked Lara, "Why would your mother do that to me?" She said it was because I wasn't earning enough to afford designer clothes and accessories for her, and that embarrassed her in front of her friends. Apparently, my ex wanted to make me feel as small and insignificant as possible. Hearing that shattered me all over again. The pain I had buried for years came rushing back. Still, I asked Lara, "Okay, that was then. What do you want from me now?" She said she wanted me to accept her bags, my daughter. I asked, "And what would that change?" She answered without hesitation, "It means I'd be your daughter again, and you'd have my back." I told her, "Fine, I'll accept you as my daughter, but you won't get anything from my except love. My savings, property, and insurance will all go to Emma and Amy, but I will love you as my eldest. Is that enough for you?" She paused. Then, after fumbling for words, she said, "Yeah, we can talk about the money later." "You're not going to make a will right now, are you?" Kai replied, "I already have. Emma and Amy are listed in my insurance and savings accounts. The house I bought in the new city is in Brianna's name. None of that will change. But if you're okay with that, go get the document I signed when I gave up my parental rights. I'll ask my lawyer to draft a new one to reverse it." She said, "Sure," but went quiet after that. My mom offered her dinner, but she declined, saying she had something to do. 2 weeks passed, and she never showed up again. I pointed this out to my mom. See, the moment she realized she wouldn't get any money from me, she disappeared. Just like that. It was never about love. It was always about what she could get. What a useless piece of crap she turned out to be. Like I said, it was always about money. 2 weeks ago, Lara showed up again at Mom's house. This was 4 months after our last conversation. She looked terrible, eyes red and swollen, dark circles, rashes all over her arms. She claimed she had eaten something that triggered an allergic reaction. She was sobbing and begging for help. Said she had been living with a friend after her stepdad kicked her out, but now that friend had also thrown her out. She had sold most of her belongings just to eat, and now she had nothing, no money, no clothes, no shelter. Mom asked, "Why haven't you found a job?" Kay said she was a school dropout and no one would hire her. Mom offered to speak to a friend who runs a bakery to see if she could get her a job cleaning or helping out. She told her there are plenty of jobs out there that don't require a high school diploma. Lara didn't respond to that. She just sat there sobbing and asked Mom for some money. Mom gave her a few food packets and $100. She asked, "Why didn't you bring the document to undo the disownment?" Lara claimed it was still at her stepdad's house and promised she'd bring it next time. She took the money and food and left. Mom didn't tell me about this visit because she thought I'd get angry. 3 days ago, Lara showed up again, same sob story. Mom asked, "What did you do with the $100? Lara said she used it to buy food. Mom asked again about the job. Lara didn't give a clear answer. This time, Mom didn't give her a dime. She said she had nothing more to offer. Mom didn't give her any more money or extra food, this time just a loaf of bread. Lara took it and was about to leave when Mom asked if she had changed her mind about wanting to be my daughter again. She snapped. What's the point of having him as my dad if he's not going to give me any money? He's already given all his stuff to his beggar stepkids. Mom was shocked. She immediately chased Lara out of the house and warned her never to come back again. Then she called me and told me everything, both of Lara's recent visits. I was furious that she had helped her the first time, even after all I'd been through. I told her to be extra cautious, especially answering the door at night, from how Mom described her appearance. It sounds like Lara's fallen in with a bad crowd. She looked unwell, unstable, maybe even dangerous. Since Dad passed last year, Mom's been living alone. I'm genuinely worried about her safety. We're planning to get a restraining order in case Lara shows up again and causes trouble. Today, I came over to Mom's place. I even walked around the neighborhood hoping to catch a glimpse of Lara, but she was nowhere to be found. I'll be staying here for the week, just to keep an eye on things. Honestly, I don't know what to feel anymore. Part of me is still heartbroken. If what Lara said about my ex-wife was true, that everything was a scheme to humiliate me, then my ex went too far. In trying to destroy me, she also destroyed her own daughter's life. And if Lara was lying, well, she's now paying the price for her cruelty. By the way, someone commented on my last post that everyone has the right to make their own choices, that Lara wasn't evil for choosing her stepdad over me. Just that she picked the wrong side. Maybe that's true. She made her choice 10 years ago. She has to live with the consequences for the rest of her life.